Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for all the people who serve our city, working outside, dealing with the cold and the snow. Lord, keep them safe and give them grace and strength. And I thank you too for our council members, our mayor, the administration, city staff, for their efforts, their skill, their service to our city. As the council works through challenging business, I pray that you'd give them wisdom, help them to have clear and healthy communication, guide them towards what is true, and will provide what is beneficial for the citizens of Fergus Falls. Pray that you'd give our council a sense of perspective so they can operate in keeping with broad principles, purposes as they make decisions. Father, we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this City Council meeting on February 3rd to order. Can we do a roll call, please?
Rachel.
Here.
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 Joe.
Here.
Bonnie.
Here.
Clayton.
Yes.
Kramer.
Here.
Mortensen.
Here.
We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is open forum, whereby anybody in the audience can speak on a matter that's not already on the agenda. At that time, they would have opportunity to speak on an agenda item. As nobody wishes to step forward, we can move on to the approval of the agenda. We have an addition of a resolution regarding support for grant funding on Lake Alice water quality to come under old business, and then Council Member Kwame has asked that item number 4 off the consent agenda be removed and talked about separately. With that, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Laurel.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. The first item on the agenda is public hearing regarding housing tax rebate program for 2103 Wyrens Road and 803 East Mount Faith Avenue, and I will call upon Clara Beck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I know I've been saying this the last several times we've had tax rebate applications in front of us, but these really are the last two. They snuck in right under the deadline of December 31st, so we are still going to hear them and make a decision regarding whether or not these two properties receive $5,000 worth of tax rebates over 5 years or $5,000, whichever comes first. The first home that you're considering is going to be built at 2103 Wyrens Road. That is valued at $400,000, and that will be a home that the people who are building it are going to live in. The second home is 803 East Mount Faith. That is a $350,000 valuation, and that home will be built in order to be sold to a family to live in. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Clara? If not, we would require 2 separate resolutions. Sorry. Okay, we will open it to public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Legal Man. Anybody wish to come forward? If not, the public hearing is closed.
Your Honor, in regards to item B, we are having a contractor build this and then sell it. Who gets the funds? The ultimate buyer or the contractor?
The buyer.
Thank you.
The homeowner. With that, then I will ask for a resolution for the 2103 Wyrens Road.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call.
Rachel.
Yes.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Yes.
Clayton.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The next resolution is for the property on 803 East Mount Faith. Would somebody care to offer that?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laura.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laurel. Roll call.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
Kwame.
Yes.
Clayton.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is the awarding of bids. Resolution consenting to the city's cost participation and awarding the construction contract PI 5362, the Fir Avenue Cash 1 and Freiburg Avenue MSAS number 126 Roundabout Improvement Project SAP 126 123006. And I will call from Brian Yavaro,
Yes, thank
City
you.
Engineer.
Good evening, Your Honor and council members. Yes, back on January 16th, the Otter Tail County opened up 6 bids and read publicly aloud. The apparent low bidder was Joe Riley Construction with a total bid amount of $2,053,005. Engineer's estimate at the time was $1,780,000. So, like I mentioned, Otter Tail County being lead agency has evaluated the bids, did a post-bid interview, and determined Joe Riley's Construction's bid to be in order and responsive. Just want to note, last December, an application was submitted to the Local Road Improvement Program, LRIP, to fund a portion of this project. The state awarded the city county $790,000 to apply, of which 100% will be applied to the city's eligible costs and the remaining funds towards the county. Note, the utilities and engineering expenses aren't eligible, just the construction costs. Otter Tail County is requesting the city consent to our cost share, and they're looking to award this contract. I'm recommending myself that we award it. If acceptable, construction could begin this spring and be substantially completed in fall. So just going to the budgetary impact, estimated the total project cost with the $790,000 LRIP grant is a $1,923,682 project. Of that, the estimated county share is $1,586,000. Let's just say $1,587,000, and the total estimated city share is $336,700. We're looking to fund, as I mentioned, reduce some utility replacements, so we're looking about $174,700 city construction state aid funding, which we have adequate funding in that account. Looking at city water enterprise fund of about $74,500, and the city sanitary sewer enterprise fund of about $90,000, both of which have been programmed into the city's capital improvement project. So if you'll note, I've also provided a letter by Otter Tail County, and I've also provided a large detailed breakout of how these costs were arrived at. I would like to note, if you're looking at that last attachment, row 6, the participant LRIP grant, shows how that money is applied. So of the city's eligible costs of about $675,000, that's covering the city's eligible costs 100%, and the remaining $115,000 of that grant is being applied to the county's portion of eligible expenses. So at this time, I'll open up to any questions you may have, but I'm requesting a resolution consenting to the city's cost participation and awarding the construction services contract to Joe Riley Construction. So I'll open up to any questions you may have.
Thank you. There's a lot of numbers there. What was the net cost to the city?
Could we get a resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laurel. Mark?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
What's the net cost to the taxpayer of Fergus Falls?
Our local share you're referring to?
Yep.
Yes, with the engineering and the construction contract, $336,700.
Typically for utilities. Because the 795, the grant money's taking care of the roundabout. Am I reading this right?
If you go back to that prior sheet, you can show the street, primarily street and storm infrastructure state aid eligible items are applicable to the grant. Engineering costs, soft costs, the column overhead are not applicable, or local utilities. If you note, the sewer we have that we're replacing beneath the new roundabout is vintage from 1940s. 8-inch PCP pipe. The water main too is of same era as well. So it's an opportune time to have those replaced prior to constructing a roundabout. Plus, they'll be realigned as well. So
Thank you.
Any other questions of Brian? If not, roll call.
Rachels.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Forming.
Yes.
Layton.
No.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are no petitions and communications. We are to the consent agenda. I think it will be placed upon the screens. There as stated earlier, item 4 will be removed. Would somebody care to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Laurel. Will somebody second it?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Roll call.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Forming.
Yes.
Layton.
Yes.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The remaining items are approved. Item 4, resolution approving library policies. Councilmember Kwame, you had some questions.
Yeah, the question in particular is on page 1 of the art policy that's in the packet, on packet page
Would
28.
you rather speak better in your microphone?
I thought I was in it. Okay, I'll get a little closer. Specifically, it's questioning on page 1 of the art policy in the packet, which is page 28 in the packet. Through the various lines that have been edited in the art policy, there's identification of the words used, equity and inclusion. And in some places those are removed, but in one place it's not. And in the first line, purpose of hosting public art exhibits, building a permanent art collection, and circulating art is to, there's 5 different lines, provide free access to a wide range of art, promote a deeper appreciation of the arts, increase art literacy, provide exposure for artists, and provide equity and inclusion. I think had we received this art policy a year ago, maybe even less, no one would have even thought anything of it. But in the current political climate, when we hear words like equity and inclusion, alarm bells tend to go off, and it makes some folks a little nervous, let's say. My suggestion is that we send this policy back to the Fergus Falls Library Board and ask that they revise it to eliminate that language, and I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Your Honor, with the library director here, could we give her the opportunity to speak to this if she would like?
Absolutely.
Like here. See there, it's
Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this issue. With me this evening is also Matt Lape, the president of the Library Advisory Board, who can also respond to this concern. So at our library board meetings, we routinely revisit library policies so that we know what we're doing and what we're dealing with. Sometimes those policies are perfectly fine and they stand without changes. Regarding the art policy, we began working on this in 2021. We decided to make some changes based on the fact that we had originally included an art committee, which we recognized was redundant because the city already has an art committee. We wanted to make it more succinct. And so the point in question, specifically to section 1, bullet point E, what we are talking about is we are talking about providing equity and inclusion for access to art. We are talking about ensuring that our public, the people who live in our community, have equitable access to art. That's what we're talking about. We're saying that we want that we're building a permanent collection and a circulating collection because we're one of the few libraries that allows you to check out artwork. And we want art that is available to everyone and is inclusive for everyone. And as the policy goes on to say in section 2, bullet point C, we want there to be diversity in that art collection, different art formats and mediums, artists representing different perspectives, cultures, ideas. Yes, we want this to be an interesting collection, and we want to make sure that everybody has equitable access. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Your Honor,
Yep.
could we add on E for access to art to clarify that? I mean, would that be an acceptable thing to add to the end of that sentence?
Mayor, Councilperson Kilby, I can certainly bring that back to our board and have them review that policy with that suggestion if you would like.
I thank you for your comments. I'm a man of simple principles. There's right and wrong. I really don't like to classify male, female, black, white, brown, brown. When it comes to arts, I think it's been broad for centuries across the line. We don't need to make a line so that it's not inclusive. I struggle with the progressiveness of diversity and equity. Art is art. My perception and your perceptions are different, but we don't have to draw a line there. No different than between boy and girl. I think it should be neutral, and that's my position.
So, does anybody have anything else? If not, we have a motion to send this back. Laura, did you have any?
I guess I do. I kind of, what Laurel said, I think makes sense. If we can find some words that we can add into that to better explain, you know, like Gail did, just explain to us, you know, the purpose of those words, I think would go a long way.
I would add that I don't think this is not talking about people or
Right.
gender. This is talking about diversity of art, whether it's, you know, something made out of steel or something that's on a canvas or something that's made out of pottery. So I think we're picking on small things when we have, you know, bigger things to look at, but we'll send it back if that's the pleasure of the council. So all those in favor to return it to the library, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is approved to return it to the library board. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the ordinance and resolutions, Westridge Mall purchase agreement, and potential actions.
Your Honor, I make a motion that this be tabled.
Somebody second that?
Clarification, are we asking table both or one or which both?
Thank you for the question. We have two matters in front of us. Number one, participating with the Otter Tail County CDA, and number two, participating with the acquisition of the mall. I specifically speak of tabling the acquisition of the mall. We're 30 days into a 120-day period in efforts to provide additional information to this board.
Did we get a second?
No.
Point of order, Your Honor. Are we on number one, or are we on A, or are we on B? Which one are we on? On A, right? The EDC.
No, I think Councilmember Layton is talking about 1B.
Okay, so we do A first, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But we need a second to Councilmember Layton's.
Is Councilmember Layton willing to, I mean, Your Honor, hold back on that motion and let us process through A first?
May I ask the council to move on my motion before we go to A?
Possible. I mean,
Well, it dies for lack of a second.
yeah. So it is died because there's no second. So we'll move on to A, the resolution authorizing the city of Fergus Falls to participate in the Otter Tail County EDA. And technically, this would be an Andrew, but Bill will go to the podium in his on his behalf. But I think just to preface kind of obviously this discussion, obviously part of this is regarding obviously the mall, and the CDA, after kind of discussion both at task force and committee of the whole meetings, we've had both Commissioner Sullivan and Nick Leonard, assistant for the county, explain how the function of the CDA would work within the city. And it is my understanding that even after we approve this, if we approve it, that it will not affect the city's tax, the taxes on city residents, and would obviously allow the CDA to continue to do projects within the city if invited, and would obviously allow them to do diligence and do preparation work on the mall. With that, over to Bill.
I don't know if I can say a whole lot more. You summarized that pretty well. But yeah, your first item here is a resolution authorizing participation in the CDA, and we've certainly talked about that over time. So again, to reinforce what the county had said, that they're here to be supportive and additive, to work with the city on the projects that you wish to do. So that is the first item in this. So in order to do anything with the mall, with the county, we would need to be a participant with the CDA. So that's up for your discussion and your wishes, and a motion on that resolution.
I will offer the resolution that we participate with Otter Tail County EDA.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott Rachels.
Your Honor, a question?
Yep.
For the sake of public, I think there's some confusion. EDA and CDA have been thrown around, kind of interchanged. I understand the difference, but I'm not completely sure that everyone that's watching this understands that based on conversations I had. Is it possible to get some real clear clarification, just so people understand why two different sets of initials?
Sure. So I can speak to it a little bit, but you correct me if I'm wrong. How does that sound? So the Otter Tail County Community Development Agency, CDA, that's the name they go by. They are established under state law as an economic development authority, so an EDA. So they are an economic development authority doing business as the CDA, a community development. Is it agency or authority? CDA, what's the A?
Good question.
Sorry, I just thought of that now.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Regardless, okay, it's authority.
It's an agency, actually, in
Okay.
the resolution.
Regardless, it is a good question. It is an economic development authority. It falls under that area of statute. Okay.
As spoken at the last committee of the whole, I have no heartburn with becoming a partner with Otter Tail County in their EDA, CDA, whatever you want to call it. We've indicated at the last committee of the whole meeting that this contract will run about 5 or 6 years. It can sit in a drawer and do nothing, or we can use it as best we can. I've had a lot of conversations on this. I believe we've been thrown into a lion's cage where historically, 20 years, that the city hasn't had an opportunity to work with Otter Tail County, and it's time to make that change. I don't understand why there hasn't been one, but if this would mend those, allow the city to participate in more economic development, if anyone would define that to me, more economic development in cooperations with the county.
And this EDA was established, was that in 2018 or 2019? I think roughly that time frame. So this is a newer organization to the county that we would be participating in.
Any other questions?
Your Honor, I think I'll just make a statement. I was part of the task force that you appointed me to with the mall, and I want people to know that are watching here tonight that the city joining the CDA tonight does not mean that the mall is purchased in this agreement. What this is in our task force, it quickly became evident that the city needs to make some connection with the CDA to kind of guide the CDA and what they want done. I took it before that the CDA kind of would do what they were going to do, but meeting with Nick Leonard and others from the county, it was evident that the CDA gets brought into your city and then they kind of ask you, what can we do to help you? And so this agreement today has some to do with the mall, but this does not mean the mall is purchased because of this agreement. And I support this agreement with the CDA because when we get into the mall discussion, we'll talk more about some of the things that we need that CDA to be able to do for the businesses that are out there at the mall. So I wanted to kind of clarify that for the people at home.
Thank you. Yep, they are invited into the city on projects, as opposed to us and simply. If there's no further questions, we'll do a roll call.
Rachel's.
Yes.
Hildy.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Kwame.
Yes.
Layton.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Your Honor, may I ask that the next ordinances be tabled so we can continue to acquire the necessary information on the acquisition of the mall?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mark Layton and Mike Mortensen that the acquisition of the mall purchase agreement be tabled for 30 days.
I would say to the end of the 120 days that we're in. 120 days, we're about, what, 35 days in? We could act faster. There's been a lot of conversation, but not much motion on this.
There is no discussion with that, right? It's just a vote.
It's just a vote. So it is just a vote. So a vote to say we either, everybody is in agreement to postpone it.
I'm welcome to discussion.
There is
No.
no discussion.
There is no
On
discussion.
tabling.
Pardon me?
So roll call.
No.
It's a motion.
A motion?
But you can do a roll call.
I think we should do a roll call for clarity.
Rachel's.
No.
Hildy.
No.
Fish.
No.
Joe.
No.
Kwame.
No.
Layton.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The motion is fails. Yep. So it stands that we have a resolution approving the assignment,
Should have
I think we have to make.
someone should make a resolution.
so now, we need a resolution.
Your Honor, for purposes of starting discussion, I'd like to offer a motion or a resolution that has some safety in it for our taxpayers so we can start some discussion on this, that the agreement would be contingent with some insertion of language by Mr. Nicolomo that requires the state grant dollars remain priority as stated in the grant agreement, but clarifies that any further dollars from the sale of this property first go to making the county taxpayer whole to the extent that the sale price allows, and that any unsecured debt, which is approximately $400,000 at this time, is listed as payable if money remains after repaying the county. So their expenses come first in effort of trying to pay back the county taxpayer. Secondly, a contingency in our agreement that a joint task force that includes members from our body with the county CDA to work on the redevelopment of the mall is in place for the duration of the county's ownership of this property. And I believe it's my understanding that they have agreed to that, but you can speak to that, Mayor.
I think that ultimately that was the case. Maybe, does somebody wish to, would you be able to read the, okay, okay.
Provide exact wording.
We need a second for a start on the.
I'll second that.
Laura has seconded it. So basically, we have a resolution to agree to a purchase agreement with some contingencies, which basically are that obviously if there is a sale of the property, that state and county local taxpayers are paid first, and any unsecured debtors would be after that, and that we would continue with a joint task force to discuss the purpose and reuse of the mall thereafter. So discussion.
Your Honor, I was on the road today and I dictated to my assistant, I have a statement here. If you don't mind, allow me to have this read, if my technology would work.
Your Honor, I request request the opportunity to address the citizens of Fergus Falls and specifically those in Ward 2 who elected me. I ran on the basis of honest transparency from this council, and that's the only thing you'll hear from me. In regards to the mall transaction, this is not a political transaction. I'm not here to make a political statement or appease the taxpayer who are in favor or not in favor of the transaction. I am here to present the facts in an open and honest dialogue and ask this body for more time. It's important that the council act in a prudent legal manner that doesn't put the city into what they refer to as a slippery slope. We have an out-of-town company who has not been a good landlord, not followed his contractual agreements, nor has this company paid its utilities, third-party bills, and not local real estate taxes. Now this company is asking for public monies to pay off secure creditors, his bank, and leave unsecured creditors, utilities, and local real estate taxes unpaid. Now you ask what the slippery slope is. So if your local business that can't pay your bank mortgage and elects not pay your real estate taxes, is it the responsibility of the city to bail you out? The council is asked to move on to 2 matters tonight. One, City Fergus Falls participates with Otter Tail County CDA, and number 2, proceed with the acquisition of purchasing the mall. We're in 30 days of a 120-day open window permitting us to get more information on this deal. There are various options available, everything from eminent domain to demanding the property be torn down due to its condition. At this point, there are simply too many unknowns regarding what is proper, what is not proper to move on this tonight. This is not as easy as economic development and to saving 4 businesses. I know this is not the case. Your Honor, I have a few more points to address. Please.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think just as some background, obviously, to this the $650,000 that the county was awarded. This came from the Energy Transition Grant, and that grant was established. The grant fund was established to provide dollars to communities that were impacted by coal plant closures, and I received a call from Senator Rasmussen regarding kind of this grant, and it got brought up as well in our legislation committee on Friday that Senator Rasmussen did, in fact, offer an amendment to this grant within the state to include Fergus Falls, because originally it was only allocated to Xcel Energy plants. This, from which we got the 650. The maximum you can apply for in any one transaction is $1 million. And this is also going, there's a further pool nominated for $5 million again this year. It's a rolling fund. And this money is only available to impacted communities. So it's limited to what cities that obviously can receive these dollars. They are state dollars in a grant format versus city dollars. So these monies will not come from Fergus Falls taxpayer or get added to their bill. They've already been collected by the state on the taxes that we all pay, and they are distributed by this fund. And if we do not obviously take advantage of them or use them, then they will simply go to another community. It's limited to the communities it will go to, but they will go to somebody else if we don't consume them. So I think we all had the opportunity to go through them all. Some previous and some we did a site visit on the 21st. I think everybody would agree that it is in tough shape. I think the CDA being agreeable to a continuation of some form of task force. Otter Tail Power in funding the study on utilities and separation. I think that we have a new county commissioner in Sean Sullivan, who also sits on the CDA board within the county. I think one of my pledges was similar to Mark's, to work closer with the county, and I think that I know that I've had more conversation with Commissioner Sullivan, in his time of office, than on county, city things, than obviously previously. So I think the first task is that the fund that Otter Tail Power has kindly donated money to will work on the utilities and separation. The CDA, obviously, now that we have engaged them, will be able to work on that. I think the first task is the separation. Going through the building, it is a needed thing. We speak about obviously being business friendly, and we have an opportunity here to prove it. There are going to be opportunities for retail within kind of a restructuring, but I think we have to see what it can be. And I think there are additional grant funds from the energy transition that would help us do that. So if there is the need to do any more studies, last week I did also speak with Clara's assistance to the people that administrate this grant, and there are many different areas of which we can apply for further funding, or in this case the county would actually be applying for those further funders. I think it doesn't only impact the 4 current businesses, but it lays a foundation. I think Council Member Mortensen had some great actual ideas about how he envisaged the new mall, as it were, by removing buildings and creating some green space and pathways to kind of have individual entrances to some of those businesses. And I think that we can get there. We want economic development in the community. This would become one of our first opportunities as a council to lay down a foundation and get something done. And I know and I appreciate that I have had, like many of you, multiple calls, texts, emails. We've received both for and against, but tonight it is about doing the right thing, moving this thing forward, to get it done one way or the other, so that we do not continue to hammer at something that goes nowhere. So with that, has anybody else got anything to say?
Your Honor, I appreciate your comments in regards to some of the thoughts and insight that I had to the mall. I just need a point of order. We're in a motion, right? And or we're not resolution, but can we know what that resolution is again? What we're voting on here?
I think
Me to read it?
I think
Lynn,
because
you want me to read it?
Laurel
Okay.
kind of stated it because she added some amendments to it.
I just need to know if we're in the resolution to purchase them all at this moment, or if we're in the resolution that Councilmember Kildee has, which is different.
Resolution to purchase with those contingencies is what I thought I made.
Basically, the resolution, there's a purchase agreement sitting out there. The resolution is to assign that purchase agreement to the county.
With these
With
contingencies.
those additional contingencies.
Is that what you thought you seconded?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Your Honor, I appreciate your comments as well. We've had a lot of conversations, likewise with constituents. I've seen both yes and no. If we each have seen 20, we're looking at 160, 180 people who have applied or commented on this project, both for and against. If we have 6,000 voters in Fergus Falls, I don't know where the population really is. I'm not saying we should not do it, and I'm not saying we should do it. I'm saying that we need to look at all the avenues that are available to us. I've had a great deal of great conversations with contractors, attorneys, other council people, and when I was reading last night, because of the health issues that that building presents, it could be condemned tomorrow, and I'm speaking a little smart. There are steps to be taken, but that's a hazardous facility. And the state has statutes that say how to approach this. The city or the county can act against this. We need to push the entity that owns this and has the first mortgage on this to act. The bottom line is, I'm not going to reward him, this entity, for his mismanagement. And if any local community business who can't pay their bills because they only were selling black crayons and no longer can stay in business, it's not this city's job to bail them out. I'm asking for more time and look at all the options. And when I say more time, Your Honor, with all due respect, those meetings should be held every day. Thank you.
Your Honor, can Mr. Nicolomo speak to that, the comments that Mr. Layton just had about, I mean, the process, is that even an option? Like, to me, there would be extreme legal costs in going after condemnation, things like that, that we would be spending a lot of money in that process. I could be wrong.
I don't even know where you'd start, you know, I mean, to try to, I don't know where you would even start. I mean, to try to engage the state to come in and take control of this is what I think I heard you say.
Well, no disrespect, I'm not an attorney, but I read the statute that a building of this nature, of this condition, there are avenues that can expedite this thing. Now, is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? I don't know. Is it $5,000 or $50,000? I don't know. I'm looking for that time spent now before we reward a man who has the worst business practices, and then we send the money to Illinois, and our local unsecured creditors go, in essence, free. They have to eat it. Now, I know there's discussions there, don't get me wrong, but it's not me.
I mean, if you tear down a building and it's someone else's property, you may end up in a condemnation proceeding where you have to reimburse them for, you know, their loss. Now, I don't know what that loss would be for that building. That building, you know, what's the value of the building as it currently stands? So I mean, the state just can't step in and take things from people without compensation. So I hear what you're saying, Mark. I mean, if you want to look at looking into that, certainly can, but.
Yeah, I'm not here to T-bone you. I'm just saying that.
But I don't think that's outside of the resolution that's on the table. The resolution is to approve the purchase agreement with the contingencies as stated by Councilmember Kildee.
Correct.
Laura?
I have a question here on due diligence. You know, it states that the county will be responsible for continued due diligence, including negotiating, you know, things like that. Can you just clarify that for me? What is left that the county has to continue or commit to? Do you know? I asked Sean the same thing, and he wasn't exactly sure either. So
I think the county.
Hey, Ralph, could you put your mic in front?
You're hard to hear
There
today,
you go.
sorry.
No.
Thank you.
I think the county still has obligations to have discussions with some of the other creditors, securing their agreements. I think that's something, I don't know where they're at with that. But other than that, I think the county, you know, has reviewed the assignment and novation agreement that we've drafted, understands that they're going to be stepping in the city's shoes on this transaction. So I'm assuming that they've done whatever due diligence that they need to do, because I believe they're prepared to sign that agreement.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then roll call.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kildee.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Kwame.
Yes.
Layton. Layton.
Abstain.
Kramer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is the resolution
Honor.
approving.
Could I make a motion? Point of order. Hopefully it's all right.
I don't know.
I interrupted you.
That's my man.
Ask Mr. Nicomo if that's all right.
Can you make a point of order?
Yeah, well, I'd like to make a motion if that's all right at this moment. In regards to CDA, the city, some different things, just some clarification that we can use going forward. Is that all right? Yeah. Your Honor, what I'd like to do is, we've made an agreement now with the city, or with the county. We've made it with the CDA. This purchase is going to go over to the county. One of the things, well, there's a couple things very important to me, but the motion will be that I would like to see the council make an official position that we need to have those businesses' fire suppression taken care of as soon as possible. And I'd like us to make a motion that we make that position to go forward to the CDA and go with the task force that's going to join that CDA to do this. Those businesses are everything to this project, everything. And I think if we don't make a stand as a council to say that, it can get lost in the motion. So it's nothing more than a motion to let the CDA know that our priority is number one, those businesses' fire suppression, which can be split. And that's the motion that I'd like for the council.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laurel. I would agree. I mean, I have that on my list as the first task is separation of utilities. So we have a motion on the floor. Sorry, do you have something else?
I think you have to do this, and I want to bring up something too as far as a clarification, what I'd like the county to be considered. It did talk about separation of the fire suppression as touring that building, which was awful. I want to see something happen to that area. I want to see some growth. From what I understand, the businesses, I believe their power is already separated. Is that correct, Steve? Yep. Okay, so we have that's already situated. That was not conveyed to us in the previous council from what I took forth. So that part's already done. What I would like to see, though, too, is after touring that building with all the black mold that's in there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the black mold can go through cinder block, as talked about by a construction examiner or a construction inspector. So that's a threat to those businesses that are out there. And I don't want to see anything happen to them. So I would also make a motion that those businesses be split off the existing building, because that is a major threat.
We have a motion on the floor that we need to vote for first.
Yep. I'm just want to bring that up, please.
So the motion that's on the floor is about the first task of the CDA would be to separate the utilities, particularly the fire suppression system.
Yes.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Motion is approved. We will make that recommendation to them.
Now, if I could I jump back to that?
I just wanted to jump in. We're trying to tell the county what to
I was
do,
gonna s-
and I just don't think that's,
Yeah, no.
they're going to do what's best for everybody, I think, anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't want us to be pushing already. We have a task force, obviously, it's going to be put in place. There are people, that's where you could bring that stuff to the table. That's what
Yeah.
motions like this are just going to confuse everything.
I disagree with Scott. This motion was to show the quality of the council as one, and we did that. And we showed that we had one voice with the CDA, not just the task force voice. And I think that was a great move by the council.
Yeah. And I think it goes without saying on some of the other things. I mean, whether we have a laundry list of kind of things that we want them to do, I think they know that. They know what's to be done.
Your Honor, no disrespect, Councilman Rachels. You were aware of this in May, came in front of the council in October, and now you're asking us to act in 30 days. It was poorly handled up front, and now it's trying to be pushed down our throat in 30 days. It's very unfortunate. This thing was sold on saving 4 businesses, which is not the case, and dividing utilities, and that's not the case. I'm here, again, as I dictated, I'm here for full transparency, and I was dealt this hand of cards, and I got to play with it.
Can we go back to the agenda of item C is a resolution approving the assignment and assumption agreement contingent on successful closing of real estate transaction. And that's basically, maybe Rolf can explain that one, is to hand it over to the county.
This is the agreement, relating to what is owed to the city through this transaction. And what part of the discussion that the council had previously is that, and the purchase agreement requires that all of the creditors enter into an assignment of their interest to ensure that, A, if there's any money that's going to be left over based upon a sale, after those required expenses are taken out, that they would get reimbursed. So that's what's before you now, is just the city debt associated with this property. All the other creditors have a very similar agreement that I'm sure the county is working diligently on, trying to secure their signatures. But this is involving the city debt, and allows that debt may go away, it may not, but it ensures that if the property is sold or developed or by the county at a later date, and there's excess monies after payment of grant dollars, after payment of county expenses, after payment of anything else associated with this, then the unsecured creditors would come in and be paid. So that's what's before you now.
Your Honor?
We'll offer that resolution, Your Honor.
I'll second
Thank
it.
you.
No
Jim.
discuss or no.
Your Honor?
Right.
Can Mr. Nicomo point out the difference between what we're voting on now with this resolution and what Councilmember Kildee had put in our other resolution with the purchase? She had put a lot of these things, I think, very similar in the last resolution, if I'm not wrong.
That's correct, and what I envision is that we would amend this agreement to say basically the same thing. And I would encourage the county to do so with their assignments that they're working on with other creditors, unsecured creditors, so everyone is on the same page and understands that if there are monies left over after proceeds and after payment of grant dollars and after payment of county expenses, that then they would be distributed to the unsecured creditors listed in the purchase agreement. So what Ms. Kildee offered was to ensure that, that the public money get reimbursed first, and that if there's any money left over after the public money had been paid, that the unsecured creditors would then get their fair share. Correct?
Roll call.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a motion directing staff to prepare a maintenance agreement between, actually, one more. Al, coming back to you. You had wanted to put a motion about, the separation of the building,
Yeah, I would like
but,
I guess, we've talked about saving these businesses. And as I mentioned, those of you who did go through the mall know it's pretty bad.
yeah.
And, as the building inspector had mentioned, that it can migrate through these cinder block walls. Who knows how far it is? Some of those areas are pretty bad. And with the black mold, the fire suppression system, the pump that has the drive shaft to it, the shroud for the pump is a half a 5-gallon bucket. And I don't know how stuff like that ever got passed with an inspection, but it did. So I want these businesses to be safe.
Yep.
I want it to continue, but I'd really like to see, and it would be a fairly easy process to do that.
I think maybe if we make a motion to ask that the CDA make it a priority to one of their first tasks.
I would
But we
like to,
I don't think we can say you must do it, but at least if we could make a motion to say, express our concerns so they're out there in the public.
yeah.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we have a motion to send a message to the county, the CDA, that, expressing the concerns from a health and safety perspective of the building. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign.
Aye.
One against, but the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a motion. This is just a motion to direct staff to prepare a maintenance agreement between the YMCA of the Northern Sky and the city for former gas station parking lot at 1040 East Fir Avenue. At this point, there is nothing particularly to discuss because it's a motion to ask staff to prepare a document which will then come back to the council for them to edit and approve. And I thank Councilmember Layton. He's already sent some comments in that will go to Brian for inclusion in this document. So,
Thank you.
would somebody care to make the motion?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laurel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. And does anybody wish to discuss anything on this? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is approved. Now we come to our favorite part of the evening, which is the presentation of claims in the amount of $1,238,478. Would somebody care to make a motion to pay the bills?
I'll offer the resolution to pay the bills.
Thank you, Jim, for the resolution. Would somebody care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Your Honor, Mayor, Bill and I have been having conversations with the new system that they have. And
The resolution is approved. to
yes,
pay
I'm
bills,
sorry. Yep. Just a clarification, with the new system, when I, as a council person, read through the presentation of claims, are they scanned that I have access to see the invoices, or are they just typed into the system?
We currently have them scanned into our current system, but they're not accessible. I don't know how that will work with the new system yet. I mean, we'll be doing that this summer, getting that in there. So I don't know if you will have access to actually pull up individual invoices or not. I envision it'll be a list of bills much the same as this. But that's something we'll have to research as we go through that process.
And the new boy in the block, you know, I'm not familiar with, if you will, every now and then something comes up that's out of ordinary, how to examine that. And then not T-bone you and say, well, geez, Bill, you just paid $35,642.70 to John Doe.
Yep, and I don't have them memorized either. I will, when I look through, and I go through them all before we come here tonight. And if I look at something I don't recognize, then I go to, say, Guy, and say, your department, okay, I don't know this vendor. What did we pay? And I go look at the invoice. My staff has already looked at every invoice, but I do that for, if there's ever a vendor I don't know, I check to make sure, is that a legit vendor? It's something new. If I don't, but there are things most likely you'll just have to ask me if something feels out of the ordinary, because then I have to go and research it.
I talked to Mr. Knutson, and again, I don't want to get into your server and all that kind of stuff, but if I'd have access to the invoices, so thank you very
Yeah.
much. Be beneficial.
Right, thank you. Under old business, maybe Council Member Kwame, this came up again at the Legislative Commission meeting on Friday regarding Lake Alice water quality. And Scott, maybe you want to kind of talk a little bit about the project. We did approve this resolution of support. This is not a resolution spending any money. It is a resolution supporting state getting some funding to continue the work for 3D at Lake Alice. But over to Scott.
Yeah, I apologize for the short notice on this, and it was a matter of just the way the timing fell. We had our legislative committee meeting on Friday, and the agenda for this meeting had already been published on Thursday. And there's a bit of a sense of urgency to get this in front of the legislature and so that they can get it into their committee agendas and they can do what they need to do to put the bills together and whatnot. And in our meeting on Friday with Jordan Rasmussen, he pointed out that the sooner he could get this, the better. And that's what led me to bringing this to the floor tonight. This resolution of support is the same wording as the one that we approved last year, and then last year's legislative session ended up with nothing happening, and so we're kind of back to asking the same question again, and so the date has simply been changed on it. Essentially, this resolution says that we, the city, support Water Quality's 3D pilot project on Lake Alice. There's a lot more words to it, whereas, but it's be resolved that the city of Fergus Falls supports a 2-year extension of the Lake Alice Water Quality Project until 2027 and request an additional state-funded appropriation. So it's at no cost to the city. It just extends the project as it's been going so that more data can be collected and more good can be done. And I believe it's a fairly simple ask. If we can pass this resolution tonight and forward it on to Jordan Rasmussen and eventually then also to Jeff Backer and the others that will then work to get this bill together. Joel Carlson also was in on that call on Friday, our legislative connection, and between Joel and Jordan, they were both looking forward to seeing this come from us.
Thank you.
Mr. Kwame, thank you for your effort on this. What do you think is the reason for the 2-year delay?
Oh, it's not a delay. It's simply an extension of the project. So I'm not sure I follow your question.
Okay, I might be understanding this wrong, but
Can we just get a resolution? You're offering
Yeah,
a resolution?
I offered the resolution.
second
Sure.
And Laura second it.
I'm jumping the gun, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So does this mean that the money has been set off for 2 years, or the project is just extended for 2 years? What does it mean?
Okay, I can understand that. When this was originally started 2.5 years ago, the state funded the project at $40,000, and we agreed to do it. The city found a used dock to put in, so we had a place to mount the equipment. And our expense at that time was simply installing an electrical outlet so the thing could be plugged in. There'll be no ongoing expenses beyond the cost of a little electricity to run the pump going forward. And with the good results that this project has seen over the last 1.5 years or so with reducing the odor around Lake Alice, by continuing the project and getting more data, essentially, Water Quality 3D will then be in a better position to, show the effectiveness of this equipment. And that's the whole point of the pilot project. Again, it will be at no cost to the city going forward, and it simply extends the pilot project for 2 years.
To boil it down, the monitoring. Thank you very much for this effort.
It goes down to have the state pay the next 2 years again like they did before. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
what-
asking the state to appropriate the money,
Asking for
correct.
more money, yeah.
Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 Joel,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Freemeyer,
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. There is miscellaneous items that on Friday the 7th will be the council retreat. On the 12th, it will be the committee of the whole. And then on the 17th, there'll be a holiday closure for observation of President's Day. So I believe that is a Monday. So garbage will all have a 1-day delay in that. So Mondays will be Tuesdays, Tuesdays will be Wednesdays, and then 18th will be another council meeting. And I think we pretty much, believe most people are attending the retreat. Is that the case?
I am.
Your Honor, I apologize. I won't be there. I have patience.
Right. Thank you, Mike. But to a robust discussion about economic development and communications.
Your Honor, one thing, on the next council agenda or committee of the whole, can we get some updates on ongoing projects? I've gotten a lot of comments from people in mall discussion, actually, asking status of some other things, such as the Bigwood conversation with the realtors and things like that. And I know those are points we've touched on, but if we could circle back so the public could be updated on some of those.
Right. Yep, we can do.
And I would like to remind the task force for the mall that we meet more regularly and get responses back from our questions. And hopefully Ralph can help us.
Is the task force for the mall still ongoing?
I'm not sure where we'll go with that, but as it's now a county, I think we can do that. But I think I'll get back to you on that. Thank you. Cecily, just before we adjourn.
being you brought up the mall again. I guess I just see one piece that's kind of missing in the transparency with the mall. You're doing the partnership, city, county, state help, and so forth. But the silent thing that I haven't heard anything is these 4 businesses that we are rushing in to save. Are they doing any partnership with us? I'm curious as to what's going on, if there's any dialogue with them, but nothing's been shared. And that's my only comment question.
I know we've for sure had dialogue with, on a personal level with the cinema. And I know the county has had dialogue with some of the other businesses.
Okay.
But I can't.
Nothing to share yet?
I believe all of them, the county's been involved. Steve just left, but
Okay.
I think that they've been involved in all of them.
Yep.
They've been talking with all of them.
And
Okay.
part of it, I think, is important to recognize. 2 of them are tenants of the one parcel. 2 of them are tenants, and so in some ways, the conversation with that group has to be with the property owner versus the tenant because they have agreements there. So that's just another piece.
Harbor
to keep in
Freight and
mind.
Dollar Tree, I
right,
understand
correct.
that.
Right. Yep.
Okay, but there's nothing been given to the public, nothing that's been allowed to be leaked out from that yet?
We'd have to ask the county.
Okay.
Which we can do.
Okay, thank you.
That would be Otter Tail Power's conversations, not ours. We don't, they had their own conversations, so I don't know what they said at it, but I know they've been communicating with them, so.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Right, the city council meeting is adjourned, and I think we have a Port Authority meeting following this.
This is what's nice. I was